things AI.
How does generative artificial intelligence work? In this video, we will explore the basics of generative AI. Generative AI works by using a technique called deep learning. Deep learning is a type of machine learning that uses artificial neural networks to learn from data. Neural networks are inspired by the human brain, and they are able to learn complex patterns in data. To create a generative AI model, a large dataset of existing content is first collected. This dataset can be anything from images to text to music. The neural network is then trained on this dataset. The training process involves the neural network learning to identify the patterns and relationships in the data. Once the neural network has been trained, it can be used to generate new content. The neural network will generate new content by randomly sampling from the patterns and relationships that it has learned. The new content will be similar to the training data, but it will not be identical. There are two main types of generative AI. GANs, or Generative Adversarial Networks, are a type of generative artificial intelligence that are trained using a two-player game. One player, the generator, is responsible for creating new content. The other player, the discriminator, is responsible for distinguishing between real and fake content. The generator and discriminator are constantly learning from each other. The generator tries to create content that is so realistic that the discriminator cannot tell it apart from real content. The discriminator tries to become better at distinguishing between real and fake content. Over time, the generator becomes better at creating realistic content, and the discriminator becomes better at distinguishing between real and fake content. This process continues until the generator is able to create content that is indistinguishable from real content. Variational Autoencoders, VAEs, are a type of generative artificial intelligence that are trained to learn a latent representation of data. This latent representation is a lower dimensional space that captures the essential features of the data. Once the VAE has learned this latent representation, it can be used to generate new data by sampling from the latent space. VAEs are similar to autoencoders, but they differ in one important way. Autoencoders are trained to reconstruct the original data, while VAEs are trained to reconstruct the original data while also learning a latent representation of the data. The VAE consists of two neural networks, an encoder and a decoder. The encoder takes the input data and learns to represent it in the latent space. The decoder takes the latent representation and learns to reconstruct the original data. The encoder and decoder are both typically a deep neural network with multiple layers. The number of layers and the size of the layers will depend on the complexity of the data that the VAE is being trained on. Both ways of generative artificial intelligence are relatively new technologies, but they have the potential to revolutionize many industries. They can be used to create new forms of art, to develop new drugs, to design new products, and to create more realistic video games. However, it is important to be aware of the challenges associated with them before using them. Tell us what you think about this video and comment below. If you like this video, subscribe to this channel and hit the bell icon.